Awesome. Hi, welcome to Big Sexy Chat. I'm Crystal.
I'm Merf.
And I'm Mistress J.
Yay, welcome, Mistress J. We're so happy to have you here for our Ask a Professional Dom, whatever you want to ask her night.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Yes, so I'm going to try to stop saying so that Ashley doesn't have to edit out a lot of ums. So I need to be mindful about that. But I wanted to welcome you to our show. We're so excited to have you. One of our most downloaded shows was about kink. And we get a lot of questions about kink and bondage and BDSM and so many different things. And we thought it would be so great to have a pro dom. And I just happen to know one. She's one of my best friends. Yay.
Wow, what a coincidence.
Coincidence. Coinky dink. So tell us, how did you find this? What did you do before this?
Well, I was a professional photographer and I did mostly weddings and portraits. Then I started doing boudoir photographer and boudoir. Let me say that again.
Mm-hmm.
So I was a professional photographer. I did mostly weddings and portraits. Then I started doing boudoir photography when that became popular. And I was advertising in the Metro and the Wave, Crystal, if you remember the Wave magazine.
Yes.
And men started calling.
Mm.
And what's really funny is my very conservative brother said, why don't you start taking them on as clients for photos?
Uh-huh.
And I did. And at first I was actually really offended because they would call and they would think it was like some kind of sex session. But then I started taking the male clients. And then for some reason they thought there was like dominatrix activity involved. And I was like, okay, we can try. Then I was at a professional networking event and I happened to speak with a hairdresser friend, and she said, hey, I happen to be a professional dominatrix and I can help you. So I started working with her. Then the boudoir photography arena is very competitive, especially back then when it first started. And I thought maybe I would have a niche with men doing photos, but really the niche was with being a dom. They didn't really want the pictures. They wanted the sessions.
Imagine
and it
that.
was much more lucrative.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, men, you got to love them.
Yeah.
You just have to because,
You do.
yeah.
And so when they would say, I'd like to have a session, when they're approaching you that first time to set it up, are they asking for like sexy photos, like boudoir type photos, or are they asking to be kind of like tied up and have their photos taken?
Well, a little of both. The very first client wanted to be treated like a male model. He had been, as he put it, very nerdy all his life. He had low self-esteem. He felt like he was unattractive. He transformed his body and was being more confident. He just wanted that experience of being a model objectified.
Oh.
And being told what to do and being told how to undress and be on display for the female gaze. And it was a very exciting, empowering session. And I took his pictures 2 more times after that. Then I had a guy that wanted pictures in bondage and like with a ball gag and a dog collar. He actually wanted photos of that. Then that's when I started meeting with that friend. And then by coincidence, I had a couple of men who, I wouldn't say they were cross dressers, but they liked to wear panties and they wanted pictures of that. And there's my cat. She's saying hi.
No. Oh. Hi, girl cat.
Yes.
Merf and everybody else who's tuned in. Mistress J's cat is 18?
19.
19. Yeah. Girl cat is what she goes by.
Yeah. So she always knows when I'm doing something on the computer.
Of course. Yeah. I was just going to tell you. Oh, sorry about that. Oops. I was just going to say for those of the people who are in our audience that are watching this, sorry about my camera not working. But technical issues, but yeah, Girl Cat is welcome into the show anytime.
That's right.
Yeah,
We accept all kitties.
she's a little
Absolutely.
dumb too.
So I didn't mean to interrupt you because I don't know if there's something else you want to say around that, but I remember you doing some photography sessions where men wanted to be dressed up like a bride, or I think the word might be in the kink world, sissification
Yes, and I guess the bride is
fantasies.
the ultimate female fantasy, aside from like a motherhood type. But yeah, to dress up as the bride.
Hmm.
So we that hairdresser friend and I, we did do one where we dressed him up as a bride and we took pictures in the park. Then shortly after that, I had a man come who off like a couple like once a year he would dress up as a as
Hmm.
a as a woman, and he would get a professional session done in Vegas.
Hmm.
And then he found me and he came to my studio and I dolled him up and took pictures, and it really took off from there. And I thought maybe it was going to be mostly sissification type work, but then the domination evolved very, very quickly,
Very
especially with the
quickly.
help of my friend.
Hmm. When I used to own my boutique, we would have men who would come to town and come and buy lingerie and then throw it away because
And
they had
I
to go.
sent a couple of people over to you.
Yes, I remember. But I used to feel so sad for them that they like to dress in these really pretty things, but they couldn't let their partner or their wife know. And
Mhm.
so they would just buy it and throw it away. I'm like, what are you doing? It's not cheap.
And they
But
would
then
spend a lot of
also,
money to do that. Yeah.
yeah. And there used to be also a place here in San Jose where people could lock their clothes up right at that place on Bird Avenue. And they could, not sure if she's still around, but I know she was a big ally and friend to that community, and she really wanted to help them. So they didn't have to put their lingerie in the garbage.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah,
So
I
I'm
never
going
knew
to take a little
service.
break and close the door on my cat.
Okay, sure. We can take a second. No problem. Thank you.
I never knew that service existed.
Yeah, it was. I think she had like a beauty shop slash wig store, and then she had all these lockers, and men people could come and buy a locker rental, and they could keep their stuff there for years and years if they wanted to, as long as they paid their rent.
Awesome. That's great.
So amazing and compassionate.
Yeah.
It's yeah. I don't. Do people? Is the term crossdresser still used?
Um,
I
honestly,
wonder.
I'm not 100% sure on that.
Hmm. I'm not either. I'll see if J9 knows.
Okay, so I closed the door
Okay.
on her, but we'll probably still be able to hear her.
That's okay. It's fine. It's really fine. Before we get started again, Janine, is the term crossdresser, is that still used?
I don't know.
Okay. None of us know. Okay. We'll skip
Yeah,
it.
because I don't think transvestite is, I think it is still used, but transvestite is not.
Right. Okay. Maybe that's it. Yeah.
Transvestite. But yeah, the
Yeah,
name of
that's
that
old.
place was Carla's. I don't know if you want to maybe mention it when we
Is
get
she
back
still
on.
open?
I don't know. I,
Oh,
I,
let's
I
skip
meant to
it.
look the other day.
Yeah. Okay. Let's skip it. Okay. I'm going to go back to, just could you please describe Bondassage and Elysium somewhere like that, something like that? Does that sound okay?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Here we go again. So, Mistress J, I know that you practice Bondassage and Elysium, amongst other things. Could you tell our listeners and maybe even Merf what Bondassage and Elysium is, and maybe we could talk a little bit about our friend that created it?
So it was created by a woman named Jaeleen, and she is on the coast. And she started it as a way to keep her clients from grabbing her during sessions, but also to sink deep into a submissive state. So you are blindfolded, you have headphones, and you are tied, lightly tied or tightly tied, depending on your preference, to the massage table.
Sure.
So you don't see and you don't hear, and you can't really move. And you experience sensation play to music, some massage, and lots and lots of relaxation, touch therapy. If you're interested in a little bit of backdoor massage, that can happen depending on how extreme you want to be. You can have very extreme spanking or very light, like kind of tap, tap, tap.
Flogging.
It really depends on you. And at the beginning of the session, there's, we talk about that. Like what do
Negotiation.
you experience? What do you want to experience? What are your likes and dislikes? So Elysium is similar to Bondassage, that you have the sensory deprivation, but you're not collared. There isn't that domination submissive aspect to it. It's really just a nice massage relaxation session. Bondassage has the domination submission aspect. You're collared. There's like a little ritual at the beginning and at the end.
Merf, doesn't it sound heavenly to be tied up on a table with headphones and blindfold on, and you just receive all of this touch and impact play that you've negotiated what you would like for an hour or two? Doesn't that sound amazing?
It sounds wonderful. I'm sitting there thinking to myself, like, I need that.
Right?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
But most of your clients, and probably most of Jaeleen's clients, they're going to be typically penis havers, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. A lot
There
of people.
are some providers who specialize with people with vaginas. I've had a few clients, but I have to be honest, vaginas tend to confuse me.
Yeah, women are tricky. I know you're probably more used to dealing with you're probably just more used to dealing with men, right? Because that's how you're in your personal life, you are heterosexual. And yeah. So would you say, do you do 50% Bondassage, 50% Elysium, or I know you do other massage as well. What do you think is what's the typical?
Oh, well, I mostly do Bondassage.
Mm-hmm.
Once in a while, I'll have an Elysium session thrown in. I also do full body central massage and a tie and tease. And the tie and tease is your face up the whole time. Your hands are tied to the massage table, and you are teased for however long you choose to see me.
Nice. Sounds fun.
Yeah. Sounds delightful.
I know, doesn't it?
Just the idea of being able to really shut everything out.
Check out.
Just be surrendered over to somebody sounds like, the
Heaven.
relief. Yeah, the relief, the big sigh.
Yeah, that whole idea of being in what they call subspace, right? That seems like, oh, heaven, checking out, especially with the headphones on and this. Oh yeah, that's got to be. It just sounds so relaxing that more than anything, I just want to relax.
Right.
I'm not really wanting. I don't want to be teased and spanked. I just want to have it. I just want to be out of the world and away from my phone and my computer.
Yeah. Well, and the light touching sounds delightful as well.
Absolutely, yeah. Is that what most of your clients are looking for, do you think, J9, besides Mistress J, I'm sorry, besides the kinky part, do you think they're looking for some time to just get out of their head because they have intense jobs? We're here in Silicon Valley. Maybe people are intense. Maybe they're in charge of a lot of things or a lot of people and they just need a time out? Or is it just everybody all over the spectrum?
I think everybody all throughout the spectrum. I think men don't have the same relaxation outlets that women have, or they don't give themselves that permission. Women can go get a pedicure, a facial, and a massage, a non-sexual massage. Even getting your hair done is, self-care in a way, although sometimes it feels like a lot of work getting your hair done. But you have permission to do that socially. Men don't. And I just think the patriarchal gender roles really don't give men that safe space to surrender. Seeing a provider gives them that. And it's amazing how many men, like take a man with a foot fetish, for example. He's like, yeah, my wife just isn't into it. Or she used to dress me in panties before we were married, and then she grew out of it, but I still have this urge. So sometimes they tell their wives that they are going to see a provider,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes it's like a don't ask, don't tell.
Mm-hmm.
But there's still that need, and
Mm-hmm.
I think in our society, women are lucky that we have those outlets, going out with the girlfriends and being able to talk about absolutely everything.
Oh yeah.
And what do men talk about? Sports, politics,
How are
stocks.
how are you feeling today,
Oh
Mike?
yeah, you never.
I sometimes, like, of course, like everybody, I would love to own a penis for a couple hours just to try it out and everything. But you couldn't pay me enough money to be a guy. I need to emote. I need to talk. I need to discuss all my feelings. I need to get it out. I need to cry. I need to rage. I need to all that. And sometimes in public with my friends, I need to talk. I need to talk a topic until it's dead.
Yeah.
I don't know if men have that. I mean, I'm sure there are some, but it seems tricky for me. It just seems like they don't get to emote as much. We're not, like you said, the patriarchy doesn't allow them to emote like we tend to emote.
And I mean, I listened to my brother on the phone. He's in sales.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, holy cow, you're mean to people. You guys just like disrespect and yell at each other all the
I would
time.
cry.
That's how it is.
I would cry. Yeah, I hear men how they talk to each other at work. I'm like, I am so sensitive. I would totally cry. I would get my feelings hurt.
I think that's why I didn't do very well in the corporate world. I wasn't very tough, so to speak.
Yeah. So, what do you think, Murph? Do you think people could probably like use more of this in their life, even if there's no sexual touch?
Absolutely.
Check out.
Well, I think just the idea of being able to surrender over to somebody that you trust and be
Right.
able to feel that there is some sort of relief, how you enjoy it,
Uh-huh.
whatever your thing is, if you had somebody that's non-judgmental, willing to participate and facilitate what
Facilitate.
it is that you want so that you don't have to think about it. Oh, absolutely.
A big part of a dom's job is to nurture their submissive, right? You're supposed to, Mistress J, you're supposed to be concerned about their safety and health while they're with you, of course. And before they leave, you need to check in to make sure they're okay and all that kind of stuff. But that's really one of the dom's biggest jobs, right? Is to make sure their submissive is nurtured.
Yes, so I think in a professional session that is
Mm-hmm.
really like cut down quite a bit.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I feel like during a session I have to be hyper aware. One, that, like
Uh-huh.
you said, that they're okay,
Yep.
that they're not standing against the wall, locking their knees, and then suddenly fainting,
Uh-huh.
which happened once, or they have a let's say they have like a little blister that suddenly starts bleeding.
Oh,
The pre-existing cut. I have to look for that, but also I want them to be having a good time,
stay present.
stay present, enjoying the session so that they'll come back.
Mm-hmm.
Then at the end, I've had some people cry. I think there
Mm-hmm.
was a man who I believe he might have been either. I think he had been in a halfway house of some sort,
Mm.
because when I gave him a hug, he just really cried and was like, "Oh, that was just so nice." Like, he had been touch
Oh,
starved for a long time.
yeah.
Also, he rode a bike over,
Oh, wow.
and he had on the necklace, the Alcoholics Anonymous
Oh,
necklace.
sure.
So I think there was he was in some sort of recovery.
Mm.
So seeing a provider gave him some touch that he probably hadn't had in a long time. And I think people look down on sex workers, but
Right.
they fill such a void in society
They sure do.
that it's just not talked about. And I also think, again, we can talk about the patriarchy. I think one of the things that is really scary is that here are women that are being empowered by
Mm-hmm.
this profession, and the ones who are not trafficked
Yeah.
or sold or in some sort of slavery, the independents like myself,
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of power and freedom in their
Right.
lives.
Yeah.
And I think that's what scares.
It does, yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
It's
You have
okay
to,
if women are exploited and trafficked and therefore helpless and dependent, but if you're independent and your own boss and making good money and living your life on your terms, oh my God, that's horrible.
right. Do you feel like you've always sort of been more of a dominant person, like personality?
Yeah, I do. In relationship wise, I do. I think about how I was always uh, trying to stick my finger up my partner's butts back in the day, and I didn't know why, but I was always intrigued by men's butts and spanking them and being on top, maybe twisting their nipples a little bit, being the dominant one sexually.
Sure, sure. Do you
And
feel, oh, go
there are
ahead.
some dogs. Can you guys hear the dogs barking?
Yeah,
Because
that's
I
fine.
can close the door.
It's fine.
Okay.
Do you feel that being a pro dom has helped you in your personal life?
Yeah, it has. I've learned to become definitely more assertive in asking for what I want and what my boundaries are, what I need.
Do you feel at
Really
all?
drawing the line with the boundaries is the biggest thing
Yeah.
because you have to.
Absolute
And
boundaries.
I wasn't raised that way. I was raised basically to be a doormat and
Mm.
to accept any crap that a man gave me and to basically be grateful for any attention from a man.
Gotcha. And so when you apply, the dom side of that to your life, like this, you getting into this career field, did that just flourish for you? Did that really, like, you were looking for a partner that wanted to be submissive, or was it just something like, no, I already do that in my professional life. I don't want to bring it home with me.
No, I was looking for a partner that would be submissive.
Nice.
But in the bedroom.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because relationship wise, I feel people are equals.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might have a role. This
Sure.
one does that one does this. But the reality is that people are equals in a relationship. And that's, I think, the best relationships when both people are respected and doing what they love,
Right.
whatever that is.
What's that term that our ex-friend used to use? Blue jobs and pink jobs?
Oh, yeah.
We were like, what?
But you know what?
No.
If you enjoy doing the so-called pink jobs and
Sure.
that's what you like and thrive at, then do
Yeah,
it. But
for
if you
sure.
are being told you have to do a pink job simply because of your gender,
Fuck that.
yeah, fuck that.
Not okay.
Now,
So
can you hear the birds chirping? Pineapple.
I
Want me to close the door?
don't hear it. Do you hear it, Murph?
I heard it, but it's very light. It's
Okay.
very light in the background. It's not bad at all. So I have a question. So tell me about your favorite types of clients. What do they have specific traits? Is there a specific thing that they request? Like, what's your favorite kind of client to get?
My favorite. Well, I like being in control. I like well, there's so many things that I like. I really enjoy putting a man in panties. For some reason, it's very fun to me.
Yeah.
Maybe not. I do get a lot of full transformation, and that might not be my exact favorite, but just seeing a guy in panties with their cute little butt and their long legs, it's just very fun. And I think it really sets the stage. In some ways, it can be either a turn on for them or slightly humiliating in a good way, but it's just fun. And I bought so many panties from Curvy Girl for
Yes,
my
you did.
clients, and they're usually
stockings.
crotchless, so that they open up and things can poke out.
What dirty whores.
Yes.
In the best way possible.
And I love a crotchless panty, but I also kind of love seeing a guy have a hard on with the panties on.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's just there's something really sexy about that.
I
But
think
you
it's
get
the
clients that they want to worship your feet.
yes.
They want you to tickle them. They want
Yes.
you to spank them. Verbal. I know you're not big on verbal humiliation. Maybe a little bit, right?
A little bit. Like I'm not really into degrading someone verbally
Mm-hmm.
because that's a trigger for me personally. But I
Right.
love calling someone, a dirty whore
Yeah.
or a slut or cocksucker.
But
You know.
you don't want to do like Remember when we did that event at the Cow Palace, and
Yes.
those people, men were walking around and they had very extra small penises, and Merf, they wanted us to interact with them and tell them how small their penises were, and I just can't. I just like, oh,
Yeah.
you want a hug, like. But that's somehow they turned it around, so now that's a turn on for them to be verbally humiliated about their small penis. And I just, oh, do people ask you for that, mistress?
Yes. And you know what's funny is I've had men with big penises want to be teased and have small penis humiliation.
Really?
Yes, and to be told that their cock is worthless and
Wow.
they can't please somebody, and it's like, well, this is pretty good size here, so yeah, I think it can. It seems to be working, but all right.
Crazy. People are so
And what's
complicated.
so interesting is I really think like this humiliation, degradation, also like this slut fantasy, how they overlap.
Right.
So I have a friend who is very much a feminist, and she tried to tell me that I should not do sissification sessions
Mm.
or put men in panties because they're degrading
Vulnerable?
women
Oh.
in some sort of way.
Mm.
And I was trying to tell her that no, that's not the case. Like, so you have a man who wants, and I'm using man, like, because most of my clients are cisgendered men,
Yeah, right.
and very, that's who I attract. So if they want to dress up like a woman and be treated like a dirty, like the slutty girl that traditionally we grew up with,
That
why
fantasy.
would they want to be treated that way? Well, in some ways, they saw her as being empowered sexually,
Sure.
and they want to experience what that's like to have all that lust thrown at them.
Yeah.
Because that's another thing I don't think a lot of men feel, the lust thrown at them that women get all the time,
Yeah.
whether we want it or not.
Most of the time we don't. I
Yeah.
have a very vivid memory when I was about 16 years old walking into school, and you know how men drive by young girls and do and say their weird, gross stuff sometimes. And I remember this. Of course, I identified as being fat when I was 16. I wasn't, but that's how I thought I was. And so I remember these guys driving by, like in a Camaro or something, saying something to me, and I was thinking,
It's always a
"Wow,
Camaro, isn't it?
yeah." But I remember thinking that I can remember like right where I was by the football field too. This is whoa, it's a really powerful thing I have here. Like I didn't really realize it's that exact moment where I was like, wow, she's, here I am, this young girl doesn't know what the hell I'm doing. I have braces and glasses, and I consider myself fat, and still this man said something sexual to me, in which oh no, of course I wasn't complimented by it, but I just remember having that feeling like, whoa, wow, this is a lot of power. It's a lot of crazy, but yeah, so you do feel for women, at least, with my experience with my friends, it seems like we learn at a really young age that we're very, uh, people are wanting us, right? And like that very sort of,
Objectified.
yes. And I don't think men get that a lot. They just, unless they have a partner like me that will objectify them.
Yeah, and I think very few men, like you have to be like exceptional looking to have all that lust, like wow,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
or a celebrity where
Uh-huh.
women are throwing their panties at you on stage.
Yeah. George
Tom
Clooney.
Jones.
But yeah,
Tom Jones, and you said George Clooney.
Tom Jones. Yeah. 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 It's crazy. I try to explain to my clients and my friends, how much power you have when you own a vagina. It's a very powerful thing, and you get to make all the rules because you have that commodity that they want, right? So yeah, I think probably men do miss out on that a little bit. And it's fun sometimes in the right scenario, but I don't want somebody driving by and saying something to me that's effing scary, actually.
Mhm.
I don't realize if men
It
realize how
is.
scary it is for us when people are yelling from a car, like, oh, I'm frightened. Who knows what they're going to do next,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that, the social construct of men have to always kind of be in control. Like they always
Right,
have to have everything figured out. And so
right.
to have a session where I get to, indulge in whatever that fantasy is. And also it's a controlled, safe environment.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be very, I'd imagine be very freeing and
Yeah.
also be very pleasurable just at the concept of it, of like, I'm safe, I'm in a really comfortable spot, and I'm getting to feel lusted after, or
Yep.
whatever their request is. I can imagine it's just got to be wow, just
Mm-hmm.
it's worth whatever. Like, yes, take my money.
Right. Yeah.
you know,
Right.
it's got to be great.
So, what's the number one kink that people ask for? Foot fetish people, tickle people?
I think a lot of people like butt play.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Sorry to, I don't want to offend any of your listeners, but
Sure,
yes,
sure.
yeah, I think that's really exciting for
Hey,
people.
the as I like to call it, the culo,
The
the
culo,
anus
culo play.
has 8,000 nerve endings. It's the equal opportunity hole. Everybody gets 8,000 or around there. So there's a lot
And
of pleasure
yeah,
to be had from that area of the body, and also the taint, the gooch. Lots
yeah.
of pleasure there too. So why not indulge, especially if your partner at home doesn't want to do it, or I don't know.
I was thinking, a cisgendered man, if that's the majority of your clientele,
Yeah.
yeah, that makes sense to me that anal play would be one of the top requests, just because like we talked about, it's controlled, safe environment,
Mm-hmm.
non-judgmental. I'm paying you for a service. I get to lower my inhibitions and do, whatever I feel would bring me the most pleasure, as long as you've consented to all those things.
Right.
That makes sense.
And so some of their partners, well, my clients say their partners are just not into it. I often wonder, well, did you really ask?
Mm-hmm.
And if you asked, did you only ask one time?
Right.
Because I, I've had clients ask, well, how do I broach this with my partner,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is? Ask once, but then also ask again and explain, because you've thought about this for so many years. You've pondered this, you've contemplated it, you've figured it out inside and out. You can't just throw it at her, because it's mostly a her, and expect her to just okay
Right.
without her thinking about it.
Right.
Let her think about it and chew on it like you did, and talk about it. Have an open conversation, and it's
Keeps
okay.
coming back to that, huh, Murph?
Yep.
What?
Communication is lubrication.
We said that in tandem. Yeah, it really is. And I agree. I think not only do people not have those conversations likely, but when they do, are they coming back to it, or are they doing it when it's in the right context?
Mm-hmm.
Is it sometime where somebody's going to just be like, no, leave me alone. I don't want
Yeah,
to.
also the right time.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like you're in the middle of doing 3 loads of laundry and like, hey, can you stick this up my ass? No, I'm
Yeah.
not going to.
I'll put something up your ass.
My foot.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, it's so funny, but I'm guessing that even like for your sessions, it's also about communication, because they need to be clear, right?
Yes.
Exactly what their boundaries are, their hard limits. And then you can, you have to negotiate with that with them before your appointment, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then I go over it a little bit when they get there, like about 5 minutes or so.
Uh-huh.
And people I don't see are the ones who say, oh, I have no limits, and I don't
Oh,
want you to use a safe word on me. And it's like,
no.
okay, well, I think you're just a talker,
Yeah.
because everyone has a limit.
Right.
Somewhere there's a limit somewhere. You could be super extreme, but there's a limit.
I always read about men, cis men, I guess, mostly looking for providers. That is it true that a lot of them, maybe not with your clientele, but a lot of them just want someone to talk to about this stuff, or they're skin starved and they want to be, I don't know, held. Excuse me, I just burped. Sorry, Murph, or sorry, Ashley, Pineapple. Is it true that sometimes your clients just want to be touched? They just are craving some touch? Do they need to be cuddled and hugged and spooned? Do they, do they surprise you? Sometimes they want to talk more than they want you to spank them or whatever.
I've never had a session where all we did was talk.
Uh-huh.
Okay. I've had clients talk during the session
Uh-huh.
and not dirty talk, like
Right.
talk.
Yeah. Interesting.
And I do think people are touch starved.
Sure.
People who are not in relationships,
Uh-huh.
or maybe some people are in affectionless relationships,
Right.
and they're living like roommates.
Oh, yeah.
I know some relationships can become sexless, but there's still affection.
Right.
But then there are relationships that are affectionless.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is really, really hard to walk away from. If there are kids and a lot of kids and property involved,
Yeah.
and they're staying with for some reason. I've had people talk about their marriages, and I've said, well, if it's this bad, why won't you get divorced? And it's usually because of kids.
It's a terrible, terrible, terrible reason, because kids watch how to have a relationship by watching your relationship. So if they see a relationship where you're not, patting each other on the butt and pecking each other on the cheek and being playful and saying nice things to one another, they're learning from you. So if they're
Yeah.
learning that you don't touch each other, you don't say nice things to each other, that's how they're going to have a relationship in the future, unless they get a lot of good therapy.
Yeah.
My
Therapy is
question,
expensive.
sorry, go ahead, Jana, Mistress J.
Oh, I was just saying therapy is very expensive.
Yeah, it's worth every penny though. But so I'm always curious, how do people get these kinks? Why do they want to be tickled, or why do they want to be dressed as a bride? Why do they want to be, why are they into feet? Like, do you ever learn from these people why or where these kinks came from?
Yeah, and it's interesting how so much happens when you're young.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a tickle client, was it like, I think it was about 2 weeks ago, and he said he had an older neighbor. He was about 9 or 10, and she was in like 14 or whatever, and she would overpower him, sit on him, and tickle him,
Huh.
and it aroused him in some way. The foot fetish was just like looking at his mom and auntie's feet under the tables, like they
Right.
would have pretty feet. I think a lot of lingerie, panty wearing fetishes come from seeing their mom's underwear.
Mm.
It's silky, it's soft, it
Right.
feels good.
Yeah.
But when men get cotton jockeys, I mean, they're
Yeah.
ugly.
They're not very.
Tidy whities. I'm so glad they have boxer briefs now. They're a lot
Yes.
sexier. But man, tidy whities, that
Ugh.
was all guys had, and
I know.
men look ridiculous in them. They're horrible.
Yeah. Is it?
Yeah, I was just going to share the mental health aspect of it has
Thank you.
always fascinated me.
Me
Yeah.
too.
With just wanting to know the story, and do you have to have, is it a true fetish? Like, do you have to have it to have any kind of ejaculation or orgasm, or that sort of thing? And just I think that I would get so wrapped up in all of that, I don't think I'd ever make a good dom, because I would just be like, where did this come from?
Tell me more.
Tell me more
But
about.
you would probably get you'd have your niche clients.
Yeah.
I sure I would. a therapist dom, that would be.
I think there's quite a few out there.
Well, I went to a therapist that was a kink. I looked for a kink friendly therapist when I was looking for one.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Who also dealt with children of addicts.
Oh.
So I was like very specific, and there were quite a few.
Yes, yeah. I remember you used to go sometimes so late at night, right? Because she couldn't get you in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when Merf, you can maybe speak to this more. When we're like 0 to 2, I know we take a lot of information in, and we develop a lot of things that are going to be with us for a long time, right? Those are very formative years. Mm-hmm. Do you know, like, when do humans develop their sort of like their sexual map, their sexual imprint, or I don't know what the right word is, but there's got to be some phase in our life, like 0 to 10 or something, where those things are being developed.
Well, we do go through a fairly, I mean, I don't want to get too therapy in here,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Erikson stages of development. And so as you're going through development, there's kind of like this play on, your parents and
Mhm.
the figures that you have in your life. And so in that developmental stage, you can sort of have um this shift where you can start to see like behaviors or traits that are going to be important later on in
Uh-huh.
that person's life. um as long as they're in that environment pretty consistently, they'll start to develop those types of whatever it may be. Maybe it's enjoying looking at, feet, or, what, however it may
Yeah.
present itself. But usually, there's some event that takes place, that triggers something, and it's consistent enough that that's happening in that environment so that it becomes more of a kink or a fetish.
My therapist told me also that people love familiarity. So
Mhm.
when you're looking for a new relationship or a first relationship, you're going to look for things in that partner that feel familiar to you based on your childhood, your home, when you were small, your all those things that you learned. You're going to keep looking for that. If it's healthy, it's cool. If it's not healthy, more therapy to get away
Exactly.
from that. It's like, oh, yes. So true, right?
Yeah, I think that's one thing that parents don't always think about, is that how much they're like you said, the walking around and smacking them on the butt or giving a kiss
Yeah.
on the
Uh-huh.
cheek or those types of things. And if you're in an environment where you don't feel safe, or you see something really negative regularly happening, it's going to distort those normal stages of development where you would say, "Ooh, that's a red flag kind of behavior. I shouldn't
Uh-huh.
like that." Instead, you're going to be like, "Oh, that's the only way I saw love. So
Mm-hmm.
then I'm going to try to replicate that."
Ugh, yeah. Yeah. But there's a million and one different kinds of fetishes, right? We will never know the reason for most people have a fetish that they have. I mean, I don't feel like I have any fetishes, but I definitely have some preferences.
Mhm.
And some of those have developed, I think, more in adulthood as I've tried things. But, like I really didn't like getting spanked when I was a kid, okay? I hated it. It was pissed me off. But now I'm like, huh, sometimes it's kind of fun, especially if the endorphins are going.
Right.
And naps too, as they say, right? Like all the things you didn't want when you were a kid, spankings and naps. Now you're like, please
Right.
spank me and let me take a nap. What's your average length of your clients' appointments with you, Mistress?
90 minutes,
Okay.
which is good. I like to tap out at 2 hours. I used to offer three. And for certain people, I'll still do that, but it's really intense for me. I think
Mm,
because I am definitely an empath, so I take on a lot of the feelings
energy.
and the energy, and it's intense. So yeah, I don't even have that listed on my website anymore.
Mm,
The 3 hours.
right.
Do you
Just
ever
are you?
feel Oh, sorry. I was
No, go
just
ahead.
gonna say, do you ever feel like some people utilize that as a session with you as a form of therapy?
Mm,
Um, yes and no. Uh, was when I think of therapy, I think about the therapy that the talk therapy that I went through. I I think it's healing and empowering. So in that respect, it's therapeutic. But to fully replace a traditional therapist, no, no.
mm-hmm,
Yeah. I was thinking in terms of like processing. So
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
if somebody was really kind of stuck on an issue or maybe didn't feel accepted in some way, yeah, how that could
yeah,
feel like, oh, hey, I'm getting the liberty to do this. I'm able to now think in a different way because I've now had access to this type of behavior that I wanted to experience. It's
yes.
fascinating to me.
And
Yeah.
I've had people thank me and say something very similar to what you just said.
Mm,
Oh, I felt so liberated. I felt like safe to be able to express this. Thank you so much. And
wow.
it opens up a different door in
Yeah.
their head.
I mean, I'm sure too, it can help people with their creativity
Hmm.
as well. Because if you think about in your own life, when you have those experiences like an amazing massage or an amazing orgasm or an amazing play session with your partner, you kind of feel tired, exhausted, but also revved up, right? And then
Right. And
creative.
then you take a rest, and then you can go back and tackle. I know personally, if I'm feeling really stuck and stagnated and just so stressful that you have a really nice orgasm, and then you're like, oh, you rest a little bit, and then you can go get up and tackle more stuff with enthusiasm and creativity. And it's just that release.
Totally. So, is it fun to have your feet worshipped for 90 minutes? Because that sounds so good to me.
It took me a while to enjoy it. I really had to. I personally had to overcome the thought of my toes in somebody else's mouth and the slimy feeling. Now I remember, Crystal, me telling you about this, and you were like, "Oh, that would be heaven." And for me, I was like, "Oh, it's just." But now I like it. Now I think it. I had to overcome like the slime, and the slime, and then I was thinking, is this guy going to be bored for 90 minutes?
Right.
And I'm like, well, no, he's not bored because this is what he wants to do.
Yeah.
And so then I make it fun for myself. I personally like chest hair. So if they have chest hair, I'll run my toes through the chest hair and just rub my feet all over their body, which I think is really fun. Like I use my feet as hands.
Smart. Yeah, you got to get creative.
I get to sit down the whole time.
Hell yeah. I mean, I always just say big girls, our dogs are barking, so we need our foot rubs. So
and you can't get enough. I was like, rub the ball of the foot. Get that arm.
Oh, yes. Or I like my heels squeezed. Oh, from the sides. Love that. Since I know you personally, I happen to know your age. I'm not going to say what it is, but I know you're not 22. And I also see you fairly often in person, and I know you're not a size 0. Do those things that you're a little more mature and you're a little curvier, do those help your business, or do you feel like it's a problem for your clients, or do you think they're looking for that, or do they care at all?
Well, I think a lot of clients are looking for mature providers. A lot. And it's amazing how many younger guys like in their 20s are looking for mature providers. I think it's that experience aspect. A woman knows what she wants. I've had clients who are impeccable shape, and I'm like, why would they see me? Why wouldn't they see? I think we as women were sold a bill of goods that we have to look a certain way, and we all know this. We have to look a certain way, and only you'd be amazed at how many men really enjoy a curvaceous figure.
Oh yeah,
especially in the kink world.
Very.
And that's the other thing that has become really empowering for me is, my mom was body shamed by her own family for a long time, and they would like use fear tactics in me. Like, don't be like your mom. Don't turn out like her. You won't get anybody. And well, that's just not true. I think there are men who like absolutely all different types. And they look specifically for older women with nice boobs and nice butts. They're curvaceous. And then there are those who don't.
Sure.
So, my phone constantly rings. And I have provider friends who are older than me, and their phone rings. So I think it's an ageless industry. We both know, Crystal and I both know of a gal who was in her 70s and she was still getting clients.
Oh yeah. Lots of them. A lot of I help some other pro doms with their social media and stuff, and many of them are in their 60s. So it seems like there's a lot of longevity in this particular career, which is awesome. And also, contrary to the Western beauty ideal, right? You have to be young and 22 and tiny waist and big boobs and size 4 foot shoe. And that's just not the case. And Merf and I both know this because neither one of us have been alone on a Saturday night unless we wanted to be.
Right.
And we're fat. It's not a problem. It's easy peasy, actually. Sometimes too easy. Special. So what about do you think I had a brain fart. Hang on a second, Ashley. I'm getting back to it. What was I going to say? What can I know? Okay, I remember now. Pause. Pineapple. What, Mistress J? What can people who are not so kinky? What can we learn from a professional dom? What kind of skills could we learn from you that would help our sex lives?
You're going to laugh, Crystal, but make a list of what it is you want,
Oh, yeah.
and ask for it.
Mm-hmm.
If there's something you don't want to do, say you don't want to do it. Establish boundaries. It's
Yeah.
okay. And if your partner doesn't appreciate that, then that's probably not the partner for you. Easier said than done. I know it's really
Right.
hard to leave
Yeah.
somebody you care about, but if it's not, usually if those needs aren't being met, there's also other needs that aren't being met as well. So it's not always
Yeah.
just about like the kink in sex if something's not being met, but you can really assert yourself kindly and get exactly what you want.
I agree. Everybody should have a fuck it list.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Fuck it bucket list. You know, I remember what I was going to say a moment ago. I'm going to go back to that topic real quick. And Merf, I was curious if you ever experienced this when I was dating, where people who are big time bodybuilders are looking to go out with fat chicks. And there's so many of them. And I've talked to other women about it. They go, yeah, what is that about? These people that spend all these hours in the gym looking like, whatever, they're trying to become a professional weightlifter model thing, and then they want to date me. I'm like, I don't know where that comes from. But have you heard of that, Merf?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen it. I've had it happen.
Yeah.
I think it's part of. Well, I think it could be a lot of things, but
Sure.
I think one of the main things is you're the opposite of me, right?
Oh, yeah.
So it's almost like that. You're everything that I can't do.
Ugh.
You know what I mean? Like,
Weird. Yeah.
I think a lot of I think a lot of bodybuilder, folks are just so, I mean, I can't even imagine how crazy their regimen is.
Oh, it's so bad. So
Things that
much
they do.
restricting.
Yeah, and so here's somebody who doesn't have to do any of that and is completely opposite of me. And
Mm.
so there's like this fascination almost of it's like you're getting to explore the dark side of that, of
You're the alien.
yeah, you're the just strange, like, huh? How's this possible? Because for them, yeah, like that world is they don't step outside of that bodybuilding
Well,
stuff.
they're dieting 24/7, and I
24
don't I don't
yeah.
diet. I don't diet. Yeah.
And
It's weird.
exercising when they're tired and exercising when they're sick and
Uh-huh. Yeah. It's
Well,
unhealthy.
just like the supplements and I mean, they're just everything's so timed and so like there's so much to it that and it's like those cycling times where they have to
Yeah.
go off and it's intense that you have to be in a totally different mindset than somebody who's just like, I'm not going to be on a diet. I'm going to eat what I feel like my body needs, and
Right.
I'm going to exercise or have movement when I feel joy or when I want to do. It's just like completely into the other end of the spectrum for them.
What happens to their brain when they're cycling like that? I mean, I know sometimes they don't drink water just so their veins will pop out more. That's so bad for you and your brain. Like, I have to eat food because I'm an electrologist in real life when I'm not podcasting, and I need my brain to work and my eyesight to work really well, and I can't be restricting. I need to eat like things that are really yummy and give me lots of nutrition and carbs. They don't eat carbs and they eat so much chicken. I think you eat so much chicken, you're going to start sprouting feathers soon. It's so much.
It is. It's
yeah.
intense, but
It's a control thing.
Yeah,
yeah.
like
It's
orthorexia, right?
definitely a control thing. I had a personal trainer that was really into that, and
Yeah.
like the not drinking of the water was just on show day. And he even
Mhm.
said, "Hey, this is not sustainable. You can't live like this all the time.
Right.
You can only like he would train for X amount of months. I don't know." And then when he was done with the show, it was like, he.
Right.
I think it's like the old. You can control your body. You can
Mm.
control. This is what, and some people really like that.
Yeah, people
But
that are addicted to
that,
dieting, like they tell me they're addicted to dieting because they like the control it gives them. It feels like control to them, even though you and I know, we all know it's not. But in their own mind, it feels like, oh, they're in control now because they're controlling the calories that go in. We probably should trigger warn this stuff in case it is triggering for people to hear
yeah,
about this. But I know it can, well, it's kind of like disordered eating, right? So,
yeah,
yeah.
it can be. It can definitely become a huge disorder.
Well, obsessive compulsive disorder is really about, being able to control or feel like you have control of things that you don't really have control of, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
magical thinking. And so I think that all of these things they all kind of have these interwoven threads,
Yeah.
where they all
Right.
just kind of like, oh, disordered eating and oh, restriction and oh, obsessive compulsive. And it just keeps
Uh,
kind of flowing through. And the more you engage in those behaviors, the more you can swing into another mental illness.
yeah. There's two last things I want to talk about. First of all, I want to know how this has helped you in your personal life, Mistress, and also we want to hear all about the fun stuff you have in your playroom, toys and other accoutrements.
Oh. Well, it's helped me become more empowered.
Mm.
Definitely, I don't care what people think.
Yay.
I used to really care that whole, oh my gosh, do they like me? Not so much. I've learned that uh, that so I was raised like, oh, from black. Oh my gosh, you have to snatch a guy and hang on to him even if he's worthless. Like, okay, well,
Oh,
there's plenty. There's
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 so many.
absolutely plenty.
Dick is plentiful.
And but see, so many women are not taught that.
Yeah.
They're really not, and that's what's so sad. That dick really is plentiful.
That's so much.
You can be in a profession like this and be in a very stable, loving relationship if
Hmm.
you want. You can have a normal family life and do
Typical.
something
Yeah.
like this.
Hmm.
I really have learned that you can, once you figure out exactly how you want to live, you can do it as
Hmm.
long as you are clear and ask for it. You can
Yep.
get anything you want.
It's good to learn how to ask for what you want, right? A lot of
Yeah.
women and men too, it's hard for them to ask for what they want. And I, I, I guess it took me a little while in my age to get older to
Oh, it
learn
took
how
me a
to ask
long
for what I want.
time.
Yeah.
Me a long time.
It's
I
very
think about,
powerful once you learn how to do it.
yeah, yeah. Sometimes I look back and go, were those years wasted? It's
No,
like,
you're
well, no,
learning.
not really.
No.
No.
Sometimes you learn what not to do. And
Yeah.
yeah,
And
it's
that's a huge thing.
it's huge.
And you learn what you don't want, which is huge
Right.
in learning
Hmm.
what you do want.
Right.
Mhm.
Very big. And it's very powerful. And it's very, you have to good, like we talked about this before, good communication chops when you want to
Mhm.
have, if you want to have a loving, secure relationship and you're not like, I got to lose 20 pounds so I can land a man. My goal is to get married this year. Like, that's the dumbest goal. You know, how about make a goal? I want to meet somebody really amazing and I want to have a very full relationship and be fully realized and fully actual, like just like, but not have a goal to get married or whatever, or land a man.
Yeah, because you
It's,
can marry any old guy.
dude, right? No thanks. So tell us all the good stuff. What do you got? What do you got? What kind of fun? Because Murph and I both have a lot of fun stuff, but I think you probably trump
Oh,
what we got.
no, I don't think so.
You do.
Well, one of my favorites that I only use on special occasions if people can handle it is I have a what I call a either a fuck saw or a drill dough. It's an actual drill, like from a Milwaukee drill, that if I put a blade on it, I could tear down the walls. And it has a Doc Johnson dildo on it,
Uh-huh.
so I use that.
Wow.
I used to have a St. Andrew's cross, but when
Mhm.
I bought this house, I didn't put it up because everyone wants to come over now and stay over at my house. So I have pegs in the wall and I have hollowed out shelves that go over the pegs. So when I have to vanilla ice my playroom, so I'm really proud of that. I feel very MacGyver-like.
Very.
I
That
was
I
gonna say,
can
that's
hide.
genius.
Yeah. Somebody thought of that. I have lots of paddles and floggers and lots of things that vibrate, different sizes. I have a mirror that I stick dildos on, and I make it a glory hole.
Ooh.
If somebody wants to practice their throat techniques.
Mm.
So I call it like my makeshift glory hole.
Uh-huh.
And I have lots of shoes and lingerie and wigs, makeup.
Don't you
What
have a
else is-
swing as well?
Oh yeah, the sling. How could I forget? Oh, the sling and the spanking slash F bench.
That's right. Yeah.
So the sling was a gift from somebody, and
That was from a
my
client.
my kinky handyman
Uh-huh.
put hooks up on the wall. And what's funny is the ceiling fan can be on. So the requirements were one, that the hooks have to be in the beam, but also that the fan can be on in the summer. That also is a little scary to have the fan going while you're in the sling.
Keeps
Then
everybody cool.
It is pretty cool. So of course he figured that out, and then I have a spanking bench, which the same handyman had to lower the legs because I have really short legs. And that's just fun because people can, kind of kneel on it, but they're comfortable.
Yeah.
And it's also the perfect height if there's any backdoor play.
Ah, perfect.
It's amazing how that works.
Wasn't there like a pogo stick kind of purchase recently? I thought I saw a photo.
Oh, yes, the pogo stick.
Wow.
So the pogo stick has I have so many things I forget I have on my
I
guys.
know. I'm so intrigued by them.
Yeah, the pogo stick. You know what a pogo stick is, right? Where you jump up and down. Well, instead of jumping up and down, there is a special attachment with something on it, and it can go in the front or the back.
Gotcha.
In fact, I had a nap today and was dreaming about this pogo stick.
I'm going to try to dream about it tonight.
Seems like it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Merf and I are both open to trying everything at least once, right, Merf?
Pretty much. Yeah.
Merf has a unicorn, the kind of like the
saddle. Yeah, that it's
Sedan,
like
kind of.
kind of.
And the saddle has a stick.
Yeah.
Yep. They used to have, Crystal, you probably know this from your days. Do you remember the IHOP, the hoppity hop?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
They used to have one with the stick. They don't make them anymore. Maybe it wasn't a very comfortable stick.
Might not have been. Yeah.
It didn't look like it was. I know what you're talking about. And
but the concept was awesome. And I bought. So I bought something with a stick against an inflatable.
Oh.
That a squatting. I just think that the sticks are uncomfortable, so it's like you're like, this is a piece of junk.
Yeah,
you're getting like impaled.
A machine, a love bot kind of fucking machine.
Yeah,
and that thing was top heavy, so like it would always fall.
It's all sad.
Yeah, it was sad because it was also costly. So then I'm like, well, if I have to sit there and hold this thing up, I might as well just buy an actual drill.
Right.
And it was actually less money but sturdier, and it does the job, and can be used on both men and women.
And you can write all these toys off.
Yeah.
You probably don't, but I know you could.
I don't. Because some people are afraid of audits.
Yeah, and it's right. Yeah. It's hard to because I bought one of those machines, at the end of one year I needed a big write-off, and it was like a $1,500 machine. But you have to remember that, your tax person's going to see everything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah. She's like, okay.
Itemized receipts.
Sorry.
I said, let me see those itemized receipts.
Exactly. Wait. I was like, oh, sorry. Merf, do you have any more questions for Mistress J?
I don't. I mean, I'm sure I could think of a gazillion,
million
but
more.
we've kept you long enough, and oh my goodness, thank you so much for your
Oh,
time. Well,
well,
I
this
think
was loads of fun.
I,
Good.
I
I
think we're
hope
gonna need
your
a
listeners enjoyed
second
it.
episode.
Yeah, we might need you to come back in a few months.
Okay. Yeah, if people want me back, I'll be happy to come back.
And I'll share all of your ways to connect with you. Your website is mistressj.com, right?
No, MistressJStudios.com.
Mistress J Studios, right? And .com. And it's actually Mistress J Studios is pretty cool because she does have some blog articles and photos of some of her clients that allowed her to photograph them. And she of course blocks out the things that would be, if they want to. I mean, some of them want to be like objectified, right? And they want to know, they want the world to know who they are, because that gets them off as well. But some of her clients, I know she has to kind of, keep it more private who they are.
And I only photograph people who want to be photographed.
Yes, of course,
and
yeah.
they allow me to blog about them. And I also think that's a bit of a turn on.
I'm sure.
It's like, oh, the entire world is looking at my lower half. And
yeah.
like, okay.
Because sometimes they even want you to tweet it out and stuff too, right? They want you to put them on Twitter.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Dirty whores.
and they like, so during the session, if we agree to that, we come up with a name, like a fake name, like Bob, so to speak, or Texas Tim, and they know who that person is. And so they're like, yeah, she's talking about me.
Oh, give them a hashtag. Yeah, that's great. How fun. You must be exhausted at the end of your workday, though.
Sometimes, yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm fired up, and other days it depends on the session and what I'm doing. Also, it depends on how much cleanup there is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Because, I mean, everyone has a life, and some days you're feeling better than others, and you have other things going on. I have a 19-year-old cat. Sometimes she wakes me up. I don't sleep well.
Yeah, but you stay busy. You stay very busy with your clients. And the pandemic was not so great for like me too. Can't really do your job during a pandemic. So that was hard, I know. But it seems like your business is back. My business is back. I do electrolysis. So I'm booked out through August. And I know you stay very booked too, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And you love your job, which I love. It's so fun to have dinner or lunch with her, Merf, because she has the best stories and she really loves what she's doing. You could totally tell.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I can imagine.
Sometimes I just want to be a dom too. I just want to be like, beat everybody.
Right. I was gonna say, I'd probably leave lunch or whatever being like, who can I smack or what can I what can I be in charge of?
Thank you so much, Mistress J. We really appreciate your time.
Yes. Oh, you're very welcome. Well,
Did you
thanks,
say this
everybody.
Is your first podcast?
It is.
Oh, we took your...
I
hate that word, but never mind. I won't say it, but I'm so glad we could be your first.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Take care. Well, I forgot to say, see you later, alligator.
After a while, crocodile.
Good night. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.